Chapter 334, I leave this person to you, fourth sister. Chapter 334, I leave this person to you, fourth sister. Bam, 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 bam. After the battle broke out, deafening and frightful booms resounded in succession throughout heaven and earth. At the same time, the dispersed aftereffects of the exchanges between the two teams of experts also swept devastatingly toward the crowd of experts, of which many had already ascended into the void where they continued to watch the battle from a distance. While Jianghu Shuang's lineup could be said to be magnificent, Ice Nether Valley's team was not weak either. By coordinating with each other, these experts of the Saint Realm managed to hold back the sextet comprising of Wine Master, Lady Black, the Wind and Rain Immortals, Old Weirdo Yunyang and Chi Mei. But the two men Jianghu Shuang and Yang Zixuan, the Ice Nether Valley had to deploy several half-saints, as well as experts of the peak of the Yang Void Realm, to hold them back as their experts of the Saint Realm were already fully occupied. As a result, Jianghu Shuang and Yang Zixuan were practically unrestrained. Their battle strengths were, after all, far beyond that of an average expert of the Saint Realm. How could these half-saints and experts hope to hold them back? Second brother, I shall leave these people to you while I take on Yi Chen, Jianghu Shuang spoke icily. Okay, Yang Zixuan acknowledged in a similar voice. He casually thrust the blood-red saber in his hand, and instantly, a blood-red flowing light swept past an elder and scythed him fatally. Yi Chen. There was a heavy force of gale and thunderbolt built up on Jianghu Shuang's body, which then transformed into a ray of lightning that beamed into the void and appeared in front of Yi Chen in a split second. An astonishing blast of sword essence surged toward Yi Chen while making a diffusive noise. Young Valley Master and respectful Master Saint, do you have the guts to fight with me? Yi Chen looked over at Jianghu Shuang. The fury in his heart could no longer be contained and thus erupted at once. Bastard. Everything is because of this bastard. Yi Chen's eyes became hostile while his complexion twisted. The day was proceeding according to plan at first, but Jianghu Shuang's appearance ruined the marriage, and he even uncovered Master Saint's true colors, completely destroying the image which the latter had long been building up. From this day forth, it was likely that Master Saint's name would only be mentioned as a joke by experts throughout Nanyang continent. And all this was because of Jianghu Shuang. An ice-cold killing intent gushed out of Yi Chen's body while a pale golden long spear unanticipatedly appeared in his hand. The spear possessed impressive power and was clearly an exceptional magic weapon. Damn you. As Yi Chen glared at Jianghu Shuang, his body suddenly charged forth. Boom. When he struck out with the spear, a brutal power burst forth like the eruption of a volcano and instantly produced a jarring boom in the void. The sight of this drew admiration from many of the spectating experts. Master Saint's renown was profoundly related to his strength, and was not just because of the disposition he had all along been faking. Although he had only cultivated the spiritual power of the peak of the Yang Void Realm, he had once fought with a true expert of the Saint Realm and clearly held the upper hand. The height of his talents certainly belonged to the top tier of the entire Nanyang continent. The power of the spear which Yi Chen was showing off at the moment had already reached the threshold of the experts of the Saint Realm. However, Jianghu Shuang simply curled the corners of his lips as he met the explosive spear with a very casual thrust of the purple-tipped sword in his hand. As casual as it was when it collided with the spear head-on. Bam! An intensely violent noise sounded. Yi Chen's pupils constricted abruptly, and subsequently he spewed out a mouthful of blood in front of the horrified crowd, while his body was flung backward like a cannonball. This was what happened in only one exchange. Jianghu Shuang's casual exertion was all it took to outclass and defeat Yi Chen. Yet, Jianghu Shuang had also only cultivated the spiritual power of the peak of the Yang Void Realm. How is this possible? Yi Chen painfully stood up firm and once more cast his eyes, which had become aghast like never before, upon Jianghu Shuang. As Master Saint, he had always been considered an elite talent throughout Nanyang continent. Facing a person who was of a similar cultivation as him, however, he was thoroughly defeated and heavily injured by a very casual stroke. Why was this so? Boo! A ray of lightning whizzed toward him and arrived less than a meter in front of him in the blink of an eye. With a long sword in his hand, Jianghu Shuang gazed at Yi Chen from a close distance and revealed a jocose smile at the corner of his lips. A Master Saint as dignified as you only have this level of ability? You, Yi Chen looked in disbelief at Jianghu Shuang. The latter's eyes flashed a glimmer of disdain, following which he struck out furiously with his sword once more. In his vain attempt to resist, Yi Chen hastily raised his long spear. Bam! A frightening force smashed onto Yi Chen's spear. Yi Chen immediately felt an unprecedentedly powerful transmission which caused the energy and blood in his body to swirl. He spewed out another mouthful of blood as his body collapsed violently onto the ground below. Many of the onlooking experts were dumbstruck by what they had just seen. They had never imagined that Master Saint Yi Chen would be this resistless against an expert of the same level as him. That's right, the disparity in strength between them was so big that he showed completely no resistance. In the camp of the Holy Emperor Palace, the muscular and stocky elder continued to fix his attention on Jianghu. His pupils constricted when he saw the heavy force of gale and thunderbolt gushing forth from Jianghu's body. Is that the wrath of gale and thunderbolt? As one of the superior second-grade manuals in Holy Emperor Palace, it was certainly familiar to this elder. He's much stronger than Master Saint Yi Chen even though he's also in the peak of the Yang Void Realm. What's more, the origin energy which his exertions carry contain world origin and also slaughter origin previously. Jianghu. Make no mistake, he's indeed Jianghu. The elder's eyes projected a wicked sparkle when he thought of this. Yi Chen had dropped into a deep pit in the drill ground. When he managed to stand up scrabbling, the ray of lightning flashed once more and Jianghu reappeared in front of him. This time, however, Jianghu clenched his left hand and punched it with an immense power directly into Yi Chen's abdomen. Because its speed was too fast, Yi Chen had absolutely no time to resist. Bam! A low and deep voice sounded. Yi Chen spewed blood for the third time and his complexion became ghostly pale at once. My Dantian? Yi Chen felt his entire being as if struck by millions of thunderbolts and became completely desensitized. After destroying Yi Chen's Dantian, Jianghu casually slapped a palm on Yi Chen. Like a dead dog, Yi Chen was flung dozens of meters away and finally landed on the drill ground. After doing all this, Jianghu raised his head and looked over at Su Rou, who was fighting with Feng Daoyang in a nearby void. His callous voice began to reverberate between heaven and earth. I leave this person to you, fourth sister. You may make him die in whatever way you want. Chapter 335, Departing Unhurt. Chapter 335, Departing Unhurt. When they saw Yi Chen's Dantian being destroyed and him lying on the ground like a dead dog, everyone on the drill ground became speechless. The experts who were fighting intensely in the void above also paused their actions. Many pairs of eyes began to look downward. Chin dear. Like a raging lion, the Valley Master was especially furious. There was nothing he could do even though he had taken notice of the fight scene between Jianghu and Yi Chen. As for himself, he had been fighting with old weirdo Yunyang, who was good enough to master the third stage domain of the Saint Realm. Although he was able to hold his own against the latter, he was always at a disadvantage, and thus did not have a spare hand to assist Yi Chen. The situation of the other Ice Nether Valley experts was similar to his. They did not have a spare hand and could only watch on helplessly. Fourth sister. Jianghu fastened his eyes on Su Rou. At present, Su Rou's blood-red pupils remained emotionless. She slowly took a few steps forward and appeared beside Yi Chen. Yi Chen, whose Dantian had been destroyed and body had been severely injured by Jianghu, flailed maniacally on the ground and was completely unable to stand up. When Su Rou appeared beside him, he painfully raised his head and took a glimpse at her. His eyes no longer had the same tender affection and fondness as before, and instead contained nothing but madness. Bitch! Grunted the man who had already gone completely insane. Su Rou remained expressionless as she looked down at him. In her hands was a huge stream of spiritual power which was forming into a long sword. Without saying a word, she pierced the sword into Yi Chen's chest after it had taken shape. How dare you! The Valley Master roared more furiously than ever from the void in the distance. However, his roar and fury seemed utterly powerless, for there was not even a slight pause in Su Rou's actions. Chi! The spiritual power longsword perforated Yi Chen's chest and ran through his entire body. Yi Chen's eyes widened and seemed to express an intention to break free from this ordeal. Subsequently, the grunting noise he was making began to dissipate. Master Saint Yi Chen died right at this moment. Is he dead? Having personally killed Yi Chen, Su Rou could only mutter an inaudible response, following which she revealed a trace of smile which contained immense grief and forlornness at the corner of her mouth. Soon, the dark aura on her body faded away at an astonishing speed. Her eyes began to shut before her body collapsed abruptly. Jian Wushuang acted quickly and held her up. His face sunk when he saw her ghostly pale complexion and completely defunct aura. He hurriedly took out a few elixirs and forced them down her throat. How is she? Yang Zixuan arrived beside Jian Wushuang. Not too bad. I should be able to preserve her life. Jian Wushuang replied in a deep voice. That's good. Yang Zixuan faintly nodded his head. They had known early on that Su Ro's sudden exertion of strength would cause massive harm to her own body. It was fortunate enough that her life could be preserved. Swish, swish, swish. Wine Master, Lady Black and company appeared in succession behind Jian Wushuang's back. The Ice Nether Valley experts also gathered together as they embraced Yi Chen's body in devastating grief. The great elder of Ice Nether Valley, Feng Daoyang, looked over at Jian Wushuang's team with an extremely cold expression on his face. Can you people leave now that Yi Chen is dead and your aim has been achieved? If you feel that it's still not enough, we can continue to fight. Ice Nether Valley will definitely play along to the end. Feng Daoyang's heart was bleeding as he said these words. It must be understood that this time, it was Jian Wushuang and company who came with killing intent to Ice Nether Valley, destroyed the array core of Ice Nether Valley's protective array, and murdered young Valley Master Yi Chen. After everything they had done, Feng Daoyang had absolutely no way to detain them, and could only allow them to leave on their own. How embarrassing and humiliating was this? Yet what could they do about it? Jian Wushuang's lineup was too powerful and brutal. Though they were short of Su Ro currently, they were not afraid of Ice Nether Valley in the least bit. If a life-and-death battle really transpired, Ice Nether Valley might possibly be able to keep them back for a while longer, but it would certainly be the end of the former. Helpless. Completely helpless. A group of people had dropped in and killed their young master in front of so many people, yet there was nothing Ice Nether Valley could do. Having witnessed this scene from the void above the drill ground, many experts sighed emotionally. Ice Nether Valley has truly suffered a huge loss this time. Humph, they brought this on themselves, or rather Yi Chen brought this on them. A bunch of people came to murder the young Valley Master and are able to depart unhurt. Has the great Ice Nether Valley ever suffered such a huge loss? Amid their sympathy, the experts knew for sure that if they had taken the place of Ice Nether Valley's leadership, they would be equally helpless as Jian Wushuang's team departed. Standing on the void among the crowd were the three people of Alchemy School who remained silent throughout. Their leader, Wang Yuan, had unemotionally watched everything that took place. This was because everything was just as he had anticipated. Since nothing unforeseen has happened, the plan shall proceed normally. Wang Yuan laughed frostily. However, his expression suddenly twitched and his eyes turned to look toward the adjacent void. Only for him to see that there was not a single person in the adjacent void. The three experts of Holy Emperor Palace had remained in there all along, yet they were now completely missing. Where are the people of Holy Emperor Palace? Wang Yuan frowned. On the drill ground, the Ice Nether Valley experts held back their anger as they stared at Jian Wushuang and company. Even the Valley Master, whose canteen nearly cracked from all the angry staring, restrained himself from acting out. While holding Su Ro in his arms, Jian Wushuang glanced at the Ice Nether Valley experts and laughed grimly. Today's matter shall come to an end for now. If at any time you feel disgruntled and wish to take revenge, feel free to act. Us four siblings shall comply. Let's go. After speaking, Jian Wushuang followed his team as they slowly headed toward the exit of Ice Nether Valley under the watch of countless pairs of astounded eyes. Regardless of which party they were from, the experts focused their admiring sights on Jian Wushuang's team. The team had come to kill the young Valley Master and were now departing unhurt. The experts began to question themselves whether they had this level of ability. However, before Jian Wushuang's team reached the edge of the drill ground, something unforeseen happened. Boom. An intense wind-breaking noise was heard. The crowd subconsciously looked over to where it came from, only to see that 7 figures had appeared in the void at the edge of the drill ground. The 7 people calmly stood upright in the void, when all of a sudden, the auras on their bodies surged forth. The Saint Realm. 7 experts of the Saint Realm. The experts from various sects and parties were greatly surprised. The people of Ice Nether Valley raised their heads and also revealed bewildered expressions when they saw the 7 experts of the Saint Realm who had suddenly appeared. The only person whose expression became piercingly cold when these 7 people appeared in front of him was Jian Wushuang. Holy Emperor Palace. Chapter 336 Attack of Holy Emperor Palace. Chapter 336, Attack of Holy Emperor Palace. Holy Emperor Palace. It's the people from Holy Emperor Palace. Is Holy Emperor Palace really thinking of intervening in this matter? A stir was started on the drill ground, clearly meaning that the 7 people had been identified. The 7 experts of the Saint Realm were all from the Holy Emperor Palace. The leader among them was undoubtedly the muscular and stocky elder whose name was Mo Yun. Why does the magnificent Holy Emperor Palace care about this idle business? Lady Black remained placid as she raised her head and asked the septet. We aren't interested in the matter between you and Ice Nether Valley. We are here for only one purpose, and that would be him. Mo Yun turned and looked sternly at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Mo Yun's voice became extremely icy. A commotion started on the drill ground the very moment these words were uttered. Jian Wushuang. Could it really be that Jian Wushuang whom Holy Emperor Palace once offered an astronomical bounty for? Is he Jian Wushuang? Countless looks came Jian Wushuang's way. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly in response to the great attention he was receiving. He took off the bamboo that he had worn all along and raised his head to reveal an extremely youthful-looking face which had appeared on Holy Emperor's bounty list before. Anyone who had seen that bounty list was familiar with this face. It's indeed him. Jian Wushuang's identity was immediately ascertained. Jian Wushuang, how are you not dead? Mo Yun's face sank as he bellowed. Holy Emperor Palace had all along believed that Jian Wushuang was dead. Mo Yun did not suspect that the person was Jian Wushuang at first, and became only mildly suspicious even when the latter appeared and Su Ro shouted, "Third brother Jian Wushuang." It was only when Jian Wushuang displayed his swordsmanship and used world origin and slaughter origin that Mo Yun confirmed his doubts. However, an uncontrollable fear grew in his heart because Holy Emperor Palace had absolutely seen Jian Wushuang's corpse. What he did not know was that the corpse they saw was only Jian Wushuang's slaughtered doppelganger. Sorry, I have nothing else but fortunate survivability. Jian Wushuang laughed grimly. He knew his identity had been exposed when he saw Mo Yun and the other 6 people appearing in front of him, but he was too lazy to cover it up any longer. He was Jian Wushuang. So what? Fortunate survivability? Perhaps not. Mo Yun then deepened his voice. You might not have died the previous time, but it will be all the same after I kill you this time. As soon as Mo Yun's words ended, killing intent surged out of the bodies of the 7 experts of the Saint Realm from Holy Emperor Palace. Swish, swish, swish. 3 figures appeared beside Jian Wushuang simultaneously. They were the 3 people from alchemy school including Wang Yuan. Third brother. Wang Yuan looked over at Jian Wushuang. Behind Wang Yuan were 2 experts of the Saint Realm. One of them said, "Young master, before we started off, Sect Master repeatedly warned you not to get involved in this matter. Don't be rash." Wang Yuan's face sank, but he did not reply to this. Instead, he raised his head and looked toward the people from Holy Emperor Palace. Are you from alchemy school? Mo Yun glanced at Wang Yuan and the other 2. Have you forgotten about the agreement with Holy Emperor Palace? Are you intending to get involved in this matter? Alchemy school won't butt in on this matter, an expert of the Saint Realm standing behind Wang Yuan replied. That's good. Mo Yun smiled faintly and directed his attention toward Wine Master, Lady Black, and their 4 companions. Wine Master, Lady Black, the Wind and Rain Immortals, old weirdo Yunyang of the Tang Dynasty, and the last one should be Qi Mei, number 13 on Tang Dynasty's Blood Moon list, right? The 6 of you are solitary experts who have always remained free-spirited and probably don't have that deeper relationship with Jian Wushuang. Your reason for being here is likely because Jian Wushuang has promised you some benefits. However, think clearly whether these benefits will more than make up for offending Holy Emperor Palace and me. Mo Yun's voice was nonchalant and conveyed absolute self-confidence. Holy Emperor Palace was the indisputable overlord of Nanyang Continent. A sect like this was not what ordinary experts could afford to provoke. Among the 6 people standing in Holy Emperor Palace's way, only Wine Master had some weight to pull. Indeed, after hearing Mo Yun's words, the faces of the experts standing beside Jian Wushuang turned color. The Wind Immortal spoke first in a solemn voice. Swordsman, although my wife and I agreed to come with you to Ice Nether Valley, it was only to deal with Ice Nether Valley, and didn't include Holy Emperor Palace. So we're sorry. After speaking, the Wind and Rain Immortals glanced at each other and, with a jolt of their body, sped toward the void by the side. Jian Wushuang cupped his hands at the immortals as they left, for he could understand their rationale. Though Ice Nether Valley was one of the 3 valleys, it was vastly inferior to Holy Emperor Palace. The immortals were not afraid of offending Ice Nether Valley, but offending Holy Emperor Palace was different. Swordsman, old weirdo Yunyang and Qi Mei both had strange looks on their faces. Having understood what the 2 of them meant, Jian Wushuang instantly waved his hand and passed them 2 interspatial rings. I'm deeply grateful for the big help the 2 of you have already offered me. These interspatial rings are what you need, Jian Wushuang said. After receiving the interspatial rings, the 2 of them took a solemn glance at Jian Wushuang before moving toward the side as well. They had already done what they promised to help Jian Wushuang with. It was never within their purview to deal with experts from Holy Emperor Palace. After the successive departures, the only 2 people who remained beside Jian Wushuang were Wine Master and Lady Black. Wine Master. Lady Black looked toward her good friend whom she would definitely work with if he wanted to partake in this matter. Wine Master stood completely still with an indifferent expression on his face. Wine Master, do you remember Second Holy Master of Holy Emperor Palace? Mo Yun looked at Wine Master and smiled faintly. Jian Wushuang's face turned color at once. When I was exchanging information with the palace just now, Second Holy Master told me that you owe him an obligation, is that so? Mo Yun laughed. That's true. Wine Master's expression was somewhat unsightly. Though he had an odd personality, he was a person who valued kindness and honor. He had only ever owned 2 favors in his lifetime. The first was to alchemy school, but it was not considered a genuine favor because of his deep friendship with the sect master. The other favor was to the Second Holy Master of Holy Emperor Palace. It came about more than 200 years ago when his wife was still alive, albeit had entered her final years. In order for his wife to live for some time longer, he begged for and obtained a treasure from the Second Holy Master. And thus he owed the latter a favor. However, the Second Holy Master had never asked him to repay the favor. Second Holy Master has told me that he doesn't need you to do anything for him as repayment for the favor. His only request is for you to not take part in the matter between Holy Emperor Palace and Jian Wushuang. That's all. Mo Yun laughed callously. Chapter 337, A Monstrous Battle Intent. Chapter 337, A Monstrous Battle Intent. Mo Yun's message caused Wine Master to frown and remain in thought for a long time before he heaved a sigh. My swordsman young friend. Wine Master looked toward Jian Wushuang. I'm sorry. I cannot help you with today's matter. Master. Yang Zishuan's complexion changed at once. Junior is very thankful for the help that Senior has already offered. Jian Wushuang cupped his hands to express the gratitude he felt in the bottom of his heart. When the experts from Holy Emperor Palace appeared, the Wind and Rain Immortals, old weirdo Yunyang, and Qi Mei did not dare to get involved and left immediately. It was not bad at all of Wine Master that he remained behind Jian Wushuang and only left helplessly when Holy Emperor Palace raised the favor he owed to Second Holy Master. After all, the cooperation between Wine Master and Jian Wushuang was only because of Yang Zishuan's presence. It was extremely rare of Wine Master to have done what he had. First brother Wang Yuan and second brother, please take care of fourth sister. Jian Wushuang handed Su Ro to Wang Yuan. What about you, third brother? Wang Yuan and Yang Zishuan looked over at Jian Wushuang. Don't worry. Go and prepare some good wine and wait for me. Jian Wushuang laughed placidly. However, he then turned his body and calmly stared at the 7 experts of the Saint Realm ahead. With a flip of his hand, a triple kill sword appeared in his grasp. My comrade, may both of us have fun killing today. He stroked the triple kill sword while his only remaining companion capered joyously. Next, Jian Wushuang once again raised his head and looked at the 7 experts. He inhaled a deep breath and stepped forward slowly. With every step he took, an invisible wave formed in the space he left behind. What does he want to do? The attention of the surprised crowd turned towards Jian Wushuang. Holy Emperor Palace's 7 experts of the Saint Realm were each of exceptional strength and a master of a domain. Jian Wushuang might have stood a chance against this lineup if he had the assistance of the 6 experts. But now, the 6 experts had made clear their position. None of them would assist him in this fight. The only person who might still act was Yang Zishuan, but his strength was insufficient to help Jian Wushuang. That meant Jian Wushuang was alone. Unless the sword in his hand counted, of course. 1 person and 1 sword. Nevertheless, despite facing 7 experts of the Saint Realm, he decided not to run away at the earliest time, and instead walked over to them slowly. While he was gradually advancing forward, a monstrous battle intent suddenly burst forth from his body, as if a dragon which had been hibernating for millennia finally woke up. The monstrous battle intent reached directly for the heavens. It grew stronger and stronger with every forward step of Jianghu Shuang. It rushed beyond the heavens and caused the world to change color. On the drill ground, thousands of experts revealed expressions of absolute horror and cast their disbelieving eyes on Jianghu Shuang. His face was stone cold while battle intent continued to surge out of his body like innumerable flood dragons which roared frenziedly between heaven and earth. His body carried a gush of determination, a gush of heroism, and a battle intent which filled the entire sky. Subsequently, his body transformed into a giant black hole. A violent and utterly terrifying power swept out maniacally from this black hole. Devourment of heaven and earth. All things of the universe shook with fear. From miles and miles away, a vast amount of natural power surged toward the black hole at a breathtaking speed. In a short time, the bodily aura of Jianghu Shuang, who was positioned at the center of the black hole, expanded to its peak. The monstrous battle intent had amassed so much force that it reached an absolute maximum. Boom! A giant storm was created by the soaring energy. As it swept through, the trees which bordered the drill ground, as well as the tables, flagons, and goblets which were placed not far away, turned into ashes and debris and were blown by the winds up into the 9 heavens. At the heart of the storm, Jianghu Shuang's body floated upwards. His hair was as disheveled as a madman's, while his eyes had turned red as he emanated the monstrous battle intent. So what if it's Holy Emperor Palace? You want to kill me? Let's see who dies first. Jianghu Shuang let out a roar which shook the sky and resounded all around Ice Nether Valley. Everyone in the vicinity who heard the roar revealed an astounded look while their hearts shuddered. Does he really want a life-and-death battle with the 7 experts of the Saint Realm? Everyone who witnessed this scene widened their eyes. An expert of the peak of the Yang Void Realm versus 7 experts of the Saint Realm who were each a master of a domain, yet the former conceded not an inch and wanted to take on the latter head-on. What sort of courage was this? And what sort of drive? Throughout the world, was there anyone else who had this sort of courage and drive? Fight! 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 Everyone began to rave uncontrollably at this moment. A passionate excitement had been born in their hearts. The 7 experts of the Saint Realm from Holy Emperor Palace had seen the battle intent and force combined together in front of their eyes. Their hearts began to waver slightly as they thought about fighting against a war god as powerful as Jianghu Shuang was seeming to be. But then Mo Yun humped grimly and sneered, "Reckless idiot. Come on, kill him." As soon as he spoke, the 7 experts acted unhesitatingly and spread out their domains. They then transformed into 7 beams of flowing light and charged murderously toward Jianghu Shuang. Attacking simultaneously was no less than 7 experts of the Saint Realm who had each mastered a domain. A wicked sparkle flashed from Jianghu Shuang's eyes. His battle intent soared and burst forth once more. Azura's secret skill, Road to the Underworld. Boom. A blood-red river abruptly extended forth. It was endlessly long and led toward the underworld. It shrouded the entire void in the blink of an eye. Jianghu Shuang, who was in the middle of the river, was behaving like a matchless Azura. He seemed to chant something in his mouth before a slaughter domain began to sweep out. Subsequently, the boundless sword essence formed a massive ocean. It was a perfect combination of the road to the underworld, the slaughter domain, and the sword sea. The 7 experts of the Saint Realm found themselves in the middle of the river as well. Although they could feel that the power of the Blood River was exceptional, they seemed to not mind at all. They were not afraid of a peak expert who had reached the pinnacle level like Wine Master, let alone an expert of the peak of the Yang Void Realm like Jianghu Shuang. They were not at all inhibited by the Blood River, and swiftly appeared in front of Jianghu Shuang. It was only at this moment that Jianghu Shuang raised his head and flashed a bloody light from his eyes. Fuck off. A roar shook heaven and earth, and the very next moment, the power of the Blood River burst forth. The power of the 3 combined domains was earth-shaking. Previously, when Qi Mei fell into the Blood River and summoned her domain, her strength was nevertheless suppressed by close to 70% by Jianghu Shuang. And this time, Jianghu Shuang had used the soul-devouring secret skill to expand his strength before combining the 3 domains. What level has this power attained? Chapter 338, A Frightening Speed Like a Fish in Water. Chapter 338, A Frightening Speed Like a Fish in Water. Boom. The blood river surged in all directions. Shortly after, the 7 experts of the Saint Realm, who were originally not inhibited by the river, began to change facial expressions. Their domains were overwhelmingly crushed by the river's force. The 7 of them immediately felt as if a mountain which weighed 1,000,000 tons was pressing down on their bodies and suffocating them. How is this possible? My domain was crushed just like that. This is not good. My strength has been suppressed by 70%. Every one of the 7 experts was shocked and outraged by what was happening. They were finally feeling the terror of the blood river. The power of the blood river had exceeded their imaginations. Their domains showed completely no resistance and were quickly swept away. If they knew that Jianghu had suppressed Qi Mei's strength by 70% without using the soul-devouring secret skill, they would perhaps not have found this surprising at all. This little fella is very strange and he seems to have an incalculable number of unique methods. Don't tussle with him. Just kill him directly, Mo Yun howled. The expressions of the experts turned solemn. None of them looked down on Jianghu any longer. They began to display their killing moves one after another. Arc light. A black-robed woman with gloomy eyes evoked an incomparably dazzling black light from the blood-red soft sword in her hand. It replaced all the light in the world and blitzed across the void beautifully. Sky-covering palm. A blue-robed middle-aged man roared as he exerted his palms, and immediately, his body grew bigger. His palms all the more enlarged infinitely until they shrouded half of the sky. Death sickle. A scarlet-eyed bald man unleashed spiritual power from his body, and sent the ferocious and bloody sickle he was holding in his hand flying through the void. In an instant, 3 blood shadows appeared in succession, and a terrifying death aura began to suffuse the air. Snake shadow. Dragon raises his head. Bloody stab. The 7 experts did not hold back anything. They exerted their killing moves and charged toward Jianghu. The spectating crowd held its breath at the sight of this. Despite having their strength suppressed by more than 70% in the blood river, the 7 different offensive forces remained terrifyingly powerful. Clutching the triple-kill sword in his right hand, Jianghu stood at the very center of the blood river. The sword throbbed frenziedly and emitted a fascinating gas which caused the air to freeze. When he saw the 7 offensive forces coming upon him, Jianghu hardened his gaze and unleashed the maximal force he had built up. The 8th move of the selfless sword technique. Jianghu grunted softly and unleashed World Origin. The triple-kill sword began to strike out furiously. The 8th move of the selfless sword technique was called Boundless. A boundless world. A boundless sword essence. A boundless power. Jianghu battle strength had reached its maximal peak by using the soul-devouring secret skill, and specifically in the blood river. Thus when the sword cleaved. Boom, an explosive and piercing sound was heard in the void, which seemed on the verge of breaking apart as a result. A terrifying sword shadow swept across and met the 7 offensive forces head-on. Bam! A huge explosion which sounded like a crack of thunder was heard between heaven and earth. In the middle of the river, a crackling sound began to ring out wildly, as if space was being compressed and eventually popped. The immense and surging force transformed into a frightening storm which had the power to sweep through and destroy the world. The experts who were watching the battle from the edge of the drill ground were quite a far distance from the battleground, but nevertheless, they felt the effects of the storm and could not help but shut their eyes. Only the top-tier experts who had attained divine transcendence were forcibly able to keep their eyes open. When the storm subsided, the crowd hurriedly looked over at the battleground. They saw that the blood river was still flowing, while the 7 experts of the Saint Realm remained in it. However, Jianghu was missing. Where's he? Could he have already turned into ashes? Is he dead? The spectating experts began to wonder. The 7 people from Holy Emperor Palace were also scratching their heads. Careful. Mo Yun, who was looking at the black-robed woman, suddenly bellowed. Ha! The woman turned her head in great surprise, only to see that a heavy bolt of lightning had unknowingly appeared. The very next moment, an icy sword shadow, which seemed as if it could pierce through anything in the world, drove toward her throat. She frantically shifted her body to one side and narrowly evaded the sword. When it struck the void instead, a deafening explosive noise was heard, causing the woman to swallow a mouthful of cold air. She knew full well that had her reaction been slower by the slightest, the sword shadow would have perforated her throat and killed her. Having been fruitless the first time around, the bolt of lightning reappeared and flashed toward the bald man. Such speed! The bald man was greatly frightened. It's too fast. A few other people from Holy Emperor Palace were equally frightened. The experts who were watching from the fringes of the drill ground also swallowed cold air. It was indeed too fast, way faster than they could possibly imagine. They could not make out Jian Wushuang's figure at all. All they could see was the bolt of lightning. It could move about freely and appear anywhere it wanted in the Blood River. While the river greatly suppressed the strengths of the Holy Emperor Palace, it instead boosted Jian Wushuang's strength. He was like a fish in water. His original speed was already shocking, as seen when he used the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt and turned into a bolt of lightning. With the assistance of the road to the underworld, the consequent speed could only be described as terrifying. That was the only word to describe it. Gosh. The 7 experts were watching the bolt of lightning continually shuttle through the Blood River. Even if they had not been affected by the river, they would probably have felt powerless against such an outrageous speed all the same. Moreover, since their strengths were suppressed by more than 70%, their speeds were naturally much lower than usual, and thus they had absolutely no chance of keeping up with Jian Wushuang's speed. By making use of his speed, Jian Wushuang could easily smash them one by one. "Quick, gather together and don't spread out," Mo Yun hollered angrily. The other 6 people nodded their heads in agreement. The 7 experts immediately converged while keeping guard on the surroundings. An uproar started among the spectating crowd at the sight of this. It's 1 versus 7, yet he holds the advantage. Many experts were spooked. They could tell from the brief exchanges that the 7 experts had already used their maximal strengths, whereas Jian Wushuang held the upper hand without being direct in his approach. Chapter 339, Bridge of Helplessness Surge Forth. Chapter 339, Bridge of Helplessness Surge Forth. His speed is too fast. How can an expert of the Yang Void Realm be that fast? What he used was the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt, which is the strongest body skill manual in the Holy Emperor Palace. I have no idea how it got into his hands. But the most important factor is the Blood River. It has boosted his strength by too much. While in a state of wonderment, the spectating experts held their breaths and continued to watch on. Blood-red water tumbled and surged maniacally through the Blood River. Mo Yun and company could faintly see that a bolt of lightning was shuttling through the river at an astonishing speed. The 7 of them, who were gathered together, revealed unsightly expressions on their faces. They had never imagined that Jian Wushuang's speed would be this fast. Jian Wushuang was completely dominating the battle because of his frightening speed, as well as the assistance of the wickedly powerful Blood River. Don't panic. This little fella's strength has reached such a high level mainly because of this river and those methods which he used to upgrade his cultivation. However, these 2 methods aren't easy to use. Although this river has limitless power, he will certainly not be able to maintain the cultivation of spiritual power for much longer, Mo Yin muttered to his companions. The other 6 people nodded their heads. They were also aware that the more powerful a method, the more strenuous it was to execute. We only need to endure for a while longer. He will naturally drop off soon and then we can kill him, Mo Yun said. However, his expression was somewhat unnatural as he uttered these words. They were 7 experts of the Saint Realm, who had mastered different domains, fighting against an expert of the Yang Void Realm. Yet, they had to wait until the opponent was tired before they could kill him. This battle was certainly causing them to lose face and suffer embarrassment. But they had no choice. Jian Wushuang's strength had truly exceeded their imagination. And they could not be blamed. Jian Wushuang's improvement was simply too absurd. It must be understood that when Jian Wushuang became famous throughout the Tang dynasty more than a month ago, he barely had the battle strength of an expert of the Saint Realm. He was later hunted down by Tan Feng and narrowly escaped. It was currently only a little more than a month since then. How much could they have reasonably expected Jian Wushuang's strength to increase by during this period? By Holy Emperor Palace's estimations, Jian Wushuang could very most have become equivalent to an expert of the Saint Realm who had mastered a domain. Reasonably speaking, 7 experts of the Saint Realm who had mastered a domain should be comfortably able to kill Jian Wushuang. Before they set off, they even felt that deploying 7 people was showing too much respect to Jian Wushuang. But what happened in the end? Jian Wushuang's improvement was too incredible. Or perhaps they had underestimated him from the very start. An ordinary warrior would indeed be unable to improve by too much within a month. However, this was not necessarily the case for inverse cultivators like Jian Wushuang. Most importantly, he received a massive piece of luck during this time. Before I started using the soul-devouring secret skill, I was already able to kill a domain master like Tan Feng easily, proving that my battle strength was equivalent to a master of the third stage domain. Now, when I use the soul-devouring secret skill, I am more than capable of holding my own against a supreme expert who has attained the pinnacle level. How can these 7 people think about killing me? A heavy bolt of lightning suddenly solidified in the blood river and revealed Jian Wushuang's figure. His lips were slightly curled upward while his eyes conveyed a sense of disdain. To him, these were only 7 experts of the Saint Realm, and not one of them had attained the pinnacle level. There was no chance that they could kill him. What a joke. When he saw that they were gathered together, his pupils constricted slightly. These 7 people aren't dumb. They know that I'm fast and have thus grouped up to prevent me from killing them one by one. They're waiting for me to deplete my spiritual power. I cannot allow the battle to drag on. I have to end the battle fast. Jian Wushuang stared icily with seemingly electric eyes at the 7 experts in front of him. The potent killing intent that was already on his body began to surge once again. My spiritual power used to be insufficient for me to use that skill. But now, I can use the natural power of all things of the universe to support my usage of heavenly creation skill, while I also have just about enough power to use that skill. Inhaling a deep breath, Jian Wushuang slowly reached out his palm, on which a terrifying spiritual power was building up maniacally. He would emit a loud roar from his mouth when this spiritual power reached its maximum. Azura secret skill, Bridge of Helplessness. Boom. The void tremored and the entire blood river began to swirl frenziedly. What's happening? The faces of the 7 experts stiffened. The next moment, below their sights, a blood-red and lofty long bridge appeared at the edge of the blood river and extended out at an astonishing speed. The blood-red bridge contained an inconceivable power. Everyone shook internally when it first appeared. Retreat fast. Mo Yun shouted. None of his 6 companions dared to hesitate for a moment and hurriedly retreated. The bridge surged across the spot where they had been standing and stretched until it reached the end of the river. It ultimately ran through the entire river. What is this? Mo Yun and company stared in shock at the bridge which had suddenly appeared on the river surface. The river and bridge were both not only incomparably blood-red but also incomparably attractive to the human eye. Subsequently, from the edge of the bridge, a frosty figure slowly walked along the bridge toward the 7 experts. With every step he took on the bridge, his aura became a notch more powerful. By the time he reached the center of the bridge, his aura had already reached its peak, while at the same time his body emitted a strong blood light. The blood light was akin to a heavy blood-red armor which discharged a monstrous power. Jian Wushuang raised his head and stared at the 7 experts who had become scattered because of the bridge's charge. A roar poured out of his mouth and soared into the 9 heavens. All 7 of you must die. His roar shook the skies. The entire universe instantly tremored. Even the demons wept and the gods cried. He simply stood there like the warden of hell. A trace of fear arose from the bottom of the 7 experts' hearts. Nevertheless, they managed to suppress it. Mo Yun bawled, "This is just a harmless trick. Today you have to die. Then give it a shot." Jiang Wushuang's voice was somewhat hoarse. A bolt of lightning began to surge as soon as he spoke. Hua! The bolt of lightning appeared beside the bald man, who had been standing closest to Jian Wushuang. Once it appeared, a towering sword shadow immediately struck out. At the same instant, a phantom giant appeared behind Jian Wushuang's back. The giant raised the long sword in its hand and chopped downward. The bald man was profoundly startled. Without thinking, he hastily raised the sickle in his hand and struck out in his attempt to fend off the incoming sword. However, after the 2 of them truly made contact, crack! A fine and delicate noise began to sound. Cracks began to appear on the blood-red sickle which the bald man was holding. The bald man's pupils severely constricted when he saw what was happening. How is this possible? Mo Yun was also stupefied. Many of the spectating experts all the more widened their eyes. Chapter 340 Chopping up 7 Saints in Succession. Chapter 340 Chopping up 7 Saints in Succession. My killing shadow, The bald man gazed in disbelief at the blood-red sickle in his hand. A good many cracks had emerged on his sickle. The next moment, his sickle split into pieces with a clap. Everyone was dumbstruck while the bald man was all the more mind-blown. His blood-red sickle was not just any magic weapon, but an authentic superior third-grade magic weapon. Many experts of the Saint Realm would turn red-eyed and fight maniacally over this grade of weapon. Given that its rigidity was indubitable, how did it crack presently? Did Jian Wushuang break the blood-red sickle with one cleave of his sword? Impossible. Mo Yun, who was standing in the distance, let out a wicked roar. A superior third-grade magic weapon is extremely tough. No matter how great one's strength is, it shouldn't be possible to shatter a magic weapon like that unless... His sword. Everyone simultaneously fixed their attention upon the sword of killing which was in Jian Wushuang's hand. A first-grade magic weapon. Only a legendary first-grade magic weapon can snap a superior third-grade magic weapon. Is the sword in his hand really a first-grade magic weapon? The entire drill ground began to stir. A first-grade magic weapon. Nobody in the long history of Nanyang continent had ever wielded a first-grade magic weapon, yet one had appeared at present. Jian Wushuang paid no attention to the astoundment of the crowd. After sundering the blood-red sickle in the bald man's hand, his power did not diminish at all, and he continued to strike toward the man. Number 1. The triple kill sword easily sliced through the man's body and brought with it a smear of scarlet. The bald man, who had mastered a domain and attained the second stage domain, was the first to die. But Jian Wushuang's figure did not take even a moment's break. After killing the bald man, he transformed into a bolt of lightning once again and instantly appeared in front of the black-robed woman. The triple kill sword in his hand struck out mercilessly once more. This is bad. The black-robed woman turned pale out of fear and hastily brandished her soft sword to resist the attack. A similar scene happened once again. The triple kill sword cleaved the soft sword into two before slicing through the woman's body. Number 2. Jian Wushuang repeated the same phrase structure without a hint of emotion in his voice. His figure then transformed and reappeared in front of a blue-robed middle-aged man. Number 3. The man was dismembered as soon as a sword light flashed. Run. Run quickly. The 4 remaining people from Holy Emperor Palace were absolutely terrified. They had already lost all courage to compete with Jian Wushuang. However, the boundless strength of the blood river they were trapped within came frenziedly at them and restricted their movement speeds. As a result, they could move only as fast as snails and were unable to escape. Number 4. Jian Wushuang appeared in front of the 4th expert and subsequently. Number 5. Number 6. Of the 7 experts of the Saint Realm, 6 were slaughtered by Jian Wushuang in the blink of an eye. Every one of them was killed in one stroke and was completely unable to retaliate. Finally, Jian Wushuang appeared beside Mo Yun. Your turn, Jian Wushuang spoke in a chilly voice. Standing in the middle of the blood river, Mo Yun stared at Jian Wushuang with an unprecedented horror in his eyes. It was not just him. The spectating experts had gone completely quiet a long while ago because they had been stupefied. All it took was an instant. Within an instant, 6 of the 7 experts from Holy Emperor Palace had been slaughtered. It was too fast and too easy. These dignified experts, who had each mastered a domain, seemed like resistless babies in front of Jian Wushuang. The battle strength which Jian Wushuang had exerted within this instant had caused everyone to shudder in fear. What they did not know in fact was that Azura secret skill was a very powerful method in itself. The first stage domain, known as the Road to the Underworld, was essentially the formation of a realm which suppressed the strengths of the people within, particularly opponents. Conversely, the second stage domain, Bridge of Helplessness, was completely different. It was used to elevate one's offensive power. After the bridge was stretched out, any one of Jian Wushuang's attacks would be amplified and expanded in power by it. It also enabled the power of the first-grade magic weapon, the triple kill sword, to be completely unleashed. This was why Jian Wushuang possessed sufficient battle strength to slaughter the experts of the Saint Realm in one stroke each. Additionally, the experts' strengths were greatly suppressed within the blood river, and thus they were unable to make use of their speeds and strengths. They were also forced to scatter because of the onrushing Bridge of Helplessness. This provided Jian Wushuang with an opportunity to slaughter them as easily as chickens. Within an instant he had slaughtered 6 of them. At present, Mo Yun was the only person from Holy Emperor Palace who was still alive. Whoosh! The sword light was as merciless as ever. Mo Yun began to shudder and pulsate as soon as the massive power began to burst forth. He knew that he had absolutely no chance to survive a thrust of the sword. His pupils turned blood red instantly. Ah! After making a roar, Mo Yun forcefully smacked himself between his eyebrows, and immediately, a large mouthful of blood poured out of his mouth. He waved a hand and caught hold of a mouthful of blood. He held it firmly in his hand before smacking his palm viciously at Jianghu Shuang. At the same time, his voice began to reverberate. This young fella's talent has no equal throughout history. Holy Emperor Palace would suffer a great catastrophe if he isn't killed. Kill him. We must kill him. There was insanity in Mo Yun's voice. Shortly after, a thump was heard and his body ruptured. Before the triple kill sword touched Mo Yun's body, the latter ruptured and turned into a heap of blood mist which suffused toward Jianghu Shuang. Because the blood mist was too near and was obviously coming in on him, Jianghu Shuang maneuvered his body to one side, but was unable to evade it completely. Some of the blood mist thus smeared onto his arm. Strangely, the entire ice nether valley quietened down when Mo Yun's body ruptured and turned into the blood mist. It was dead silent like never before. The thousands of experts who were present simultaneously revealed extremely colorful and splendid expressions, while their eyes were firmly fixed upon Jianghu Shuang. Holy Emperor had shown up today as a group to kill Jianghu Shuang. They were made up of 7 experts of the Saint Realm. But, in the end, all of them were killed in an instant. They were not only experts of the Saint Realm but also masters of a domain. Every one of them was top tier on Nanyang continent. Yet they were utterly slaughtered by an expert of the Yang Void Realm. Was this an act? Am I dreaming? Everyone was completely stunned. With a sword in one hand, Jianghu Shuang stood upright in the void, frowning at his own arm. This arm had just been spattered by the blood mist which Mo Yun turned into, and a patch of blood-red speckles now appeared on it. These speckles looked extremely weird and contained a peculiar power. These speckles? Jianghu Shuang's complexion changed slightly. That's a blood soul mark. Wine Master's voice was suddenly heard. Chapter 341 Blood Soul Mark. Chapter 341 Blood Soul Mark. Wine Master walked towards Jianghu Shuang and the others. Swordsman, my little friend, you've really impressed me today, Wine Master smiled and said. Swordsman, I really admire what you've done. Lady Black also looked at Jianghu Shuang. Third brother, there was a hint of happiness on both Wang Yuan and Yang Zishuan's faces. Even they didn't expect too much from Jianghu Shuang when the 7 experts of the Saint Realm joined the battle, but Jianghu Shuang just smiled slightly, looked at Wine Master and asked, Do you know about this mark, Wine Master? I know what it is, Wine Master said and nodded, but his face looked serious as he continued, That's a unique trick of Holy Emperor Palace, the Blood Soul Mark. The Blood Soul Mark is more like a curse. A curse? Jianghu Shuang was shocked. It's almost the same as a curse, but the Blood Soul Mark will not hurt you directly. It has only one purpose, which is to make sure you have nowhere to hide. Wine Master explained to him. Once you've been cursed with the Blood Soul Mark, it will consistently release a formless power that any expert who has mastered the Blood Soul Mark will be able to sense your location easily. Jianghu Shuang's face changed. So, you mean Holy Emperor Palace can easily track down third brother? Yang Zishuan promptly asked. Yes. Wine Master nodded his head seriously and continued, The Blood Soul Mark is designed for hunting or revenge. So, many people in Holy Emperor Palace have cultivated the skill. Those experts use it when they meet danger outside. When they are about to be killed by someone, they will use the skill to cast the Blood Soul Mark on the enemy, and then the other experts in Holy Emperor Palace will find the enemy and kill him. It really is a special skill. Mo Yun knew that he would die. Therefore, he cast the Blood Soul Mark on you when he was dying so that the experts in Holy Emperor Palace will be able to track you down and take revenge. Master, can the Blood Soul Mark be erased? Yang Zishuan furrowed his eyebrows and asked. It can be erased, Wine Master nodded but then signed and said, It is easy to get rid of it. The Blood Soul Mark can be erased by simply using spiritual power, but this method takes a long time. Under normal circumstances, it would take at least 1 month to remove it completely. A month? Yang Zishuan's eyes darkened and he said, Holy Emperor Palace will have tracked him down within a month. Indeed. So, Swordsman, my little friend, You are in big trouble this time, Wine Master said solemnly. Big trouble? Jian Wushuang agreed secretly. He knew that, since he was cursed with the Blood Soul Mark, Holy Emperor Palace would be able to find him without a hitch. Holy Emperor Palace's wish to kill him was abundantly clear. Moreover, Jian Wushuang killed 7 of their Saint Realm experts, so once Holy Emperor Palace heard the news, it would not leave him any chance to survive. In fact, it was because Holy Emperor Palace knew so little about Wan Wushuang's strength that they lost these 7 Saint Realm experts. However, the next time Holy Emperor Palace took action, it would be totally different. Third brother, what are you planning to do? Wang Yuan and Yang Zishuan looked at Jian Wushuang. What can I do? They will chase me down and overpower me with numbers, Jian Wushuang said and smiled indifferently. Let's talk about that later. First, we should leave here and find a place where little sister can rest. All right, Wang Yuan and the others all nodded. Then they began to walk away, exiting Ice Nether Valley. There was an enormous amount of experts standing on the drill ground, including the experts from Ice Nether Valley, but none of them dared to block their path. They only stood there silently and watched them leave. The whole drill ground burst into an uproar as soon as Jian Wushuang and his companions were gone. He left. That monster finally left. So terrifying. A person at the peak of the Yang Void Realm actually killed the 7 Saint Realm experts from Holy Emperor Palace. Incredible. Haha, Holy Emperor Palace suffered a great loss this time. 7 Saint Realm experts. And they all mastered domain. Even Holy Emperor Palace will be distressed. It is not over yet. Mo Yun placed the Blood Soul Mark on Jian Wushuang, so he cannot escape for at least 1 month. Holy Emperor Palace will definitely try to kill him again. But they sent 7 Saint Realm experts this time. Since they were all killed by Jian Wushuang, who will Holy Emperor Palace send to kill him next time? As far as I'm concerned, Jian Wushuang's strength has already reached the pinnacle of the Saint Realm. Normal Saint Realm experts, even those who have mastered domain, will not be a threat to him. If Holy Emperor Palace wishes to kill him, they will have to get some Holy Masters to do it. Holy Masters. The 4 Holy Masters of Holy Emperor Palace. Wow, those 4 old monsters. I'm really looking forward to it. The whole drill ground was in chaos as all the experts were busy talking and analyzing the situation. Their conversations were all about Jian Wushuang and Holy Emperor Palace, while few of them cared about Ice Nether Valley anymore. Compared to Jian Wushuang killing the 7 Saint Realm experts of Holy Emperor Palace by himself, the death of Yi Qin in Ice Nether Valley was not an issue. Those experts were all stunned and filled with expectations for what would happen in the future. Except for one man in the crowd who was extremely terrified. That man was Nie Wuxin. That boy's strength. So horrific. Nie Wuxin was still in shock as he kept mentally replaying the scene where Jian Wushuang killed the 7 Saint Realm experts. He had just had some conflicts with Jian Wushuang last night. He even tried to force Wan Wushuang into giving him the leaf from the World Tree. He had paid no attention to Jian Wushuang and Qi Mei, but what he saw today at the drill ground scared him to death. His nerves were on edge, worrying that Jian Wushuang would kill him directly. Only when Jian Wushuang was finally gone did he manage to catch his breath. Fortunately, he didn't notice me. He didn't. Nie Wuxin was filled with fear after what happened, so he hastened the strong man with purple hair who was also still in a great shock and said, "Go. Let's go back right now." Nie Wuxin didn't want to stay in Ice Nether Valley any longer. However, as he was leaving Ice Nether Valley, just as he had exited the gate, a gloomy old figure blocked his path. The old man was Qi Mei. He looked at Nie Wuxin with a hint of a cold smile on his face. "Master Wuxin? What a coincidence. Why are you in such a hurry? Where are you going?" Seeing Qi Mei in front of him, Nie Wuxin began to falter and he almost wet his pants in terror. Even the strong man with purple hair next to him was frightened into a cold sweat. Little bastard, I refrained from killing you because I was restrained by swordsmen, but now there is nothing standing in my way." Qi Mei's voice was cold. Then, in the next second he abruptly took action. In a mere flash, Nie Wuxin and the strong man with purple hair became 2 corpses. Chapter 342, The 4 Holy Masters. Chapter 342, The 4 Holy Masters. The battle in Ice Nether Valley, especially the news of Jian Wushuang killing 7 Saint Realm experts by himself, spread rapidly like a hurricane. The entire Nanyang continent was shocked by it. Jin Wushuang was also remembered by all the experts in Nanyang continent as an incredible monster-like warrior. In a town near Ice Nether Valley lied a contact point for alchemy school. Jin Wushuang and others were staying there for now. In the hall of the contact point, Jin Wushuang and Yang Zishuan sat by a table, waiting in silence. Before long, Wang Yuan and Wine Master walked in. "How is little sister?" Jin Wushuang instantly asked. "She will be fine," Wine Master smiled and said, "That little girl has a very special constitution. Even I can't decipher its secrets. Her heart and soul, though they were damaged a lot, will recover over time. So it's not a big deal." "That's great," Jin Wushuang said and nodded while finally feeling relieved. "Third brother, the person you should be worrying about right now is not little sister but yourself." Wang Yuan looked at Wang Wushuang with a serious look and said, "What you're facing right now is far more serious than little sister. You have to figure out what to do." "That's true. Holy Emperor Palace is not a force to be trifled with," Wine Master said directly to Jian Wushuang. "Holy Emperor Palace is like an overlord of Nanyang. Although they are always ranked the same as Alchemy School, they are in fact slightly superior to Alchemy School, no matter in history, culture, or overall strength. Although this time you killed 7 of their Saint Realm experts, which is a great loss to them, you still didn't weaken their core strength at all. What's more, now that Holy Emperor Palace knows your actual strength, they won't leave you any chances. Once they move, they will make sure to take your life. If I am not wrong, Holy Emperor Palace will send one of their 4 Holy Masters to kill you." "4 Holy Masters?" Jin Wushuang asked and raised his eyebrows. Previously he had heard Mo Yun speak about the second Holy Master, who must be one of the 4 Holy Masters. "The 4 Holy Masters. How should I put it? They are strong and dreadful," Wine Master said solemnly. Jin Wushuang squinted. He knew that Wine Master was a super expert who had reached the pinnacle. His strength would definitely be ranked at the top in the Nanyang continent. The Great Elder, a warrior with the greatest strength out of all those experts, was just like Feng Daoyang of Ice Nether Valley. He was only equal to Wine Master in the aspect of battle strength. With his battle strength, Wine Master should be unrivaled in the Nanyang continent, but he called the 4 Holy Masters dreadful, so the 4 Holy Masters should be exceptionally strong. "The 4 Holy Masters of Holy Emperor Palace are indeed very powerful," Wang Yuan also commented in a solemn tone. Since he was the young master of the Alchemy School, and Alchemy School had many conflicts with Holy Emperor Palace over the years, he knew a lot about Holy Emperor Palace. "I've heard from my father that each of the 4 Holy Masters have truly reached the pinnacle, and have lived for hundreds of years. Their cultivations are immeasurable, and each one of them can easily eliminate a top sect. Moreover, the 4 Holy Masters are ranked by their battle strength from the 1st to the 4th. The 4th Holy Master is a little weaker, while the 3rd Holy Master is slightly superior to him. The 2nd Holy Master is even stronger. As for 1st Holy Master, he is truly an old monster, and is regarded by many people as the strongest expert in Nanyang continent." Jian Wushuang was shocked after hearing this. The 4 Holy Masters were all experts who had reached the pinnacle. Even in Ice Nether Valley, the strongest among the 3 valleys, there was only one supreme expert that had reached the pinnacle. "I've met 2nd Holy Master and 4th Holy Master before, and had fought with 4th Holy Master. But I lost the battle," Wine Master said. "What?" Jin Wushuang, Wang Yuan, and Yang Zishuan were all shocked. Even Wine Master couldn't beat 4th Holy Master, the weakest of the Holy Masters. "Don't doubt it, all 4 Holy Masters have lived longer than me. In addition, the amount of manuals and treasures in Holy Emperor Palace is enormous. So it's normal for them to be stronger than me, even though we are at the same level of cultivation. Especially 1st Holy Master, who is indeed a legend. But it would be an exaggeration to call him the strongest expert of Nanyang continent," Wine Master smiled and said. "Is there anyone who is stronger than 1st Holy Master?" Wang Yuan looked at Wine Master. "Of course," Wine Master chuckled and said, "Nanyang continent is not as simple as you think. On the surface, Alchemy School and Holy Emperor Palace are indisputable overlords with connections to all the strongest experts. However, in fact, those top experts all know that there is one person in Nanyang continent who is far beyond their reach," Wine Master said. "Who?" Jian Wushuang, Wang Yuan, and Yang Zishuan immediately looked at Wine Master. They were all eager to hear about the expert who was truly the strongest in the Nanyang continent. This person is the mysterious monarch of Tang Dynasty, Wine Master said. Him? Jian Wushuang was surprised. The monarch of the Tang Dynasty is stronger than First Holy Master? Wang Yuan was also shocked. Believe me, Wine Master smiled and said, you are all young, so there are many things you don't know about. Even you, Wang Yuan. Although you are the young master of the alchemy school, you are not your father, so what you know is limited. But an old fellow like me knows some things. Many old freaks like me know that the most horrifying power in Nanyang continent is neither Holy Emperor Palace nor alchemy school, but the monarch of Tang Dynasty. He is the reason why none of the sects or powerful forces dare to meddle with the Tang Dynasty. He, as one person, is much scarier than the whole Holy Emperor Palace. There is a saying among us old freaks, the monarch of Tang can fight against all of Nanyang. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang and the others were astonished. A man who was strong enough to fight the whole Nanyang continent by himself. Though it sounds a little exaggerated, it still showed the monstrous strength of the monarch of Tang Dynasty. It seems like I look down on Nanyang continent, Jian Wushuang smiled and sighed to himself. He always thought that the monarch of Tang Dynasty was mysterious, but he had no idea that the monarch had such horrifying power. Alright. That's enough talk about him. What you need to worry about is the 4 holy masters. We don't know which one Holy Emperor Palace will send to kill you. Wine Master looked at Jian Wushuang and said, your strength is nearly equal to mine, so you will stand a chance to surviving if Holy Emperor Palace sends 4th Holy Master. But you will be in trouble if Holy Emperor Palace sends 3rd Holy Master to go after you. Chapter 343, Which Holy Master? Chapter 343, Which Holy Master? Jian Wushuang listened carefully to Wine Master with a solemn face. He knew what Wine Master said was true. The main reason he was able to kill the 7 Saint Realm experts of Holy Emperor Palace alone was that he had used Road to the Underworld and Bridge of Helplessness to limit their abilities. Without those skills, his battle strength was only about the same as Wine Master, if not weaker. However, among the 4 Holy Masters of Holy Emperor Palace, even the weakest one, the 4th Holy Master, was stronger than Wine Master. Third bro, I have sent a message to my father asking him to protect you. Wang Yuan said, I have mentioned you many times. But you were not strong enough to draw his attention. Now things should be different. You have shown your great talent by killing those 7 Saint Realm experts on your own at such a young age, so alchemy school will attach more importance to you. Besides, you and Holy Emperor Palace are deadly enemies. Keeping you alive benefits alchemy school. So he should agree. Jian Wushuang took a look at Wang Yuan and nodded slightly. There will be a reply within a day or 2. I only hope Holy Emperor Palace doesn't come to kill you before then, Wang Yuan said. He believed alchemy school would step in to protect Jian Wushuang. From what he knew of his father, he believed he was right. They waited quietly at the contact place. In the alchemy school. Among the lofty palaces, the alchemy school's sect master and several high-powered elders gathered in the central palace, talking about whether they should step in to protect Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, such a young man, killed the 7 Saint Realm experts of Holy Emperor Palace alone. Amazing. Young master is lucky to have made such a friend in a weak dynasty. But such a genius doesn't belong to the alchemy school. The elders were expressing some amazement and wonder. On the chair above, a middle-aged man with a mustache, wearing a purple robe, sat coldly. Looking carefully, he physically resembled Wang Yuan. The fat middle-aged man was Wang Yuan's father, the alchemy school's sect master, Wang Yan. He really is a genius. Wang Yan marveled at it, but he secretly shook his head and then said, unfortunately we can't protect him. Hearing that, elders in front of Wang Yan became silent. It was true they couldn't. If it were anyone else, alchemy school would extend its hand. But Jian Wushuang was a special case. They had agreed that the alchemy school would never stand between Holy Emperor Palace and Jian Wushuang. Never. Tell Wang Yuan alchemy school will not step in. Bring him some elixirs, that's the only thing we can do, Wang Yan sighed helplessly. Holy Emperor Palace, an overlord of Nanyang, located on a large island. There were mountains and rivers on the island, with many pavilions rising from the center of those mountains. On the top floor of a pavilion, the Holy Emperor Palace Master and more than 10 elders had gathered. The current mood was very subdued because they had just received the news about the 7 Saint Realm experts who had been killed by Jian Wushuang. By Jian Wushuang alone. 7. We only have so many in total, but we lost 7 of them this time, an elder of the Holy Emperor Palace shouted sadly and angrily. The other elders also looked pale. Saint Realm experts were the most important forces of a sect. That was true even for Holy Emperor Palace. It was a big loss for Holy Emperor Palace. The dead are dead, Holy Emperor Palace Master Yi Tianming said in a deep voice. What we should worry about is Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. The mere mention of his name made the elders of Holy Emperor Palace narrow their eyes. Only a year ago Jian Wushuang had just been a boy that they paid little attention to. However, he had made incredible progress in 1 year. He improved at such an amazing speed. Most importantly, he was so young. According to the information, Jian Wushuang was only 22 years old now. A young man who was only 22 years old had killed 7 of Holy Emperor Palace's Saint Realm experts on his own. What did that mean? Elder Mo Yun left these words before he died. Yi Tianming's eyes were cold as he said, if we don't kill him now, he will bring a great disaster to us one day. He is right. Jian Wushuang is still young. But he has improved at such a fast pace, way too fast. He already has these achievements at such a young age, only 22 years old. In a few years, won't he be able to easily destroy Holy Emperor Palace? Kill him. Send him to hell. The elders in the pavilion were all furious. I'm afraid we won't be able to kill him ourselves, we will need to ask for help from the 4 holy masters, an elder said. I will ask them immediately, Yi Tianming said. Yi Tianming and the elders quickly went to the foot of a giant mountain, where a cyan-clothed boy was waiting quietly. Yi Tianming took out a piece of paper and a writing brush, then he wrote a letter and gave it to the cyan-clothed boy. Please wait a moment, Palace Master. The cyan-clothed boy took the letter and walked along the road to the giant mountain. Yi Tianming and the elders waited while the elders secretly discussed it. Who do you think they will send? It should be 4th Holy Master. He is strong enough to deal with Jian Wushuang. Any one of them can easily kill Jian Wushuang, but which one does it will depend on who isn't busy at the moment. Anyway, 1st Holy Master will not do it. That's for sure. Shut up, Yi Tianming shouted deeply. The elders immediately closed their mouths. At the same time the cyan-clothed boy could be seen walking back. He came to Yi Tianming, bowed and said, Palace Master, 2nd Holy Master said he will be here in 3 days. 2nd Holy Master? It's going to be 2nd Holy Master. Yi Tianming and the elders were all shocked. Then they waited quietly for 3 days. 3 days later, a slender elder in a black robe arrived. He was the 2nd Holy Master. Chapter 344 3-Day Drunk. Chapter 344 3-Day Drunk. At the contact place for alchemy school. In the courtyard, Jian Wushuang was practicing his sword arts while Yang Zixuan and Su Ro sat quietly at a table on the side. Though Su Ro had regained consciousness, she still looked pale and sad. Apparently, she hadn't recovered from the heavy blow yet. She had been so shocked by Yi Chen's betrayal that it had even affected her physically, and she had yet to recover. Third bro. A voice was heard and Wang Yuan ran in. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked over at Wang Yuan. Any news? Wang Yuan nodded, but he was hesitant and nervous as he said, My father said the alchemy school won't step in. What? Yang Zixuan and Su Ro were surprised. This time, Holy Emperor Palace would definitely send one of their holy masters. If alchemy school didn't help them, how could they defend against them? Jian Wushuang just raised his brows while listening to the news. There was no sorrow or happiness on his face. I don't understand his decision either. I asked him repeatedly, but he only told me that it's not because the alchemy school fears Holy Emperor Palace. It's because of some special circumstances. So, Wang Yuan paused and reached out. Here are 2 elixirs, a spirit recovering elixir and a yin-yang dark dragon elixir. Spirit recovering elixir, the highest level of healing elixir on the Nanyang continent. Even inside the alchemy school no one can refine it. The elixir helps restore spiritual power and can quickly recover from a wound, which can be very useful in your life is on the line. Yin-yang Dark Dragon Elixir. It can increase your strength for a short period of time, but it has a small side effect. My father asked me to give them to you, and he said it's the only thing alchemy school can do to help you. Looking at the elixirs in Wang Yuan's hands, Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Whether it was the spirit recovering elixir or the Yin-Yang Dark Dragon elixir, he knew they were both top-level elixirs. Like magic weapons and manuals, elixirs were also classified into 3 levels. Spirit recovering elixirs were superior 2nd grade. Yin-Yang Dark Dragon elixirs were at a slightly lower grade, medium 2nd grade. On the Nanyang continent, few alchemists could refine these elixirs. Therefore these 2 elixirs were valuable. Third bro, I'm sorry. Wang Yuan looked at Jian Wushuang with guilt. I'm not a disciple of alchemy school, and alchemy school has its own concerns. So it's normal. You have nothing to apologize for. What's more, you have given me 2 elixirs, which helps me a lot. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and accepted the elixirs. He was Wang Yuan's brother, but he had little connection with the alchemy school. He was grateful that the alchemy school gave him a spirit recovering elixir and a Yin-Yang Dark Dragon elixir. If he had a chance, he would return the favor. Don't worry, I will be staying with you. If you die, I will die too. I don't believe my father will still sit by idly, Wang Yuan said in a deep voice. Don't be silly, Jian Wushuang said, then glanced at Wang Yuan. I'm staying as well. Yang Zishuan looked at Jian Wushuang. Third bro. Su Ro gave him a stern look. They were like a family. So, of course they would live or die together. None of them would abandon the others. Jian Wushuang was greatly touched. He smiled and said, let's not talk about it anymore. We haven't been gathered together in a long time. Today let's have a good drink. Okay. Wang Yuan nodded heavily. Today we must have a good drink. They moved to a stone table and Jian Wushuang took out a pot of wine, pouring each one of them a drink. What's this? It smells good. Wang Yuan took a deep breath, smelling the aroma of wine and marveling at it. It does, Yang Zishuan said and nodded. It really was a hard-won wine. Cheers, Jian Wushuang said, then raised his wine and smiled. Wang Yuan, Yang Zishuan, and Su Ro also raised their glasses, then they guzzled them down. However, Jian Wushuang only put it under his nose without drinking it. Third bro, why didn't you drink yours? After emptying his glass, Wang Yuan noticed Jian Wushuang's glass was still full, so he frowned. But his face turned red and he quickly began to feel dizzy. The wine, Wang Yuan's voice became soft, then he fell on the stone table. Third bro, you, Yang Zishuan felt dizzy and foggy. He shook his head fiercely, trying to stay awake, but he fell asleep as well. Su Ro's face was also red. She took a deep look at Jian Wushuang, then she fainted too. After that drink, everyone was drunk except for Jian Wushuang. I knew it. An old figure walked slowly towards him. Senior Wine Master, said Jian Wushuang, then he stood up and smiled. How was my 3-day drunk? Wine Master asked. It deserves its reputation. They all became drunk after only 1 drink, Jian Wushuang said. Of course. It was made 1,000 years ago by the best winemaker on the Nanyang continent. 1 drink can even make me sleep for 3 days, let alone them. Wine Master smiled slightly, then he looked seriously at Jian Wushuang. Young man, you really want to confront Holy Emperor Palace by yourself? Yesterday, Jian Wushuang asked Wine Master for a pot of 3-day drunk. Wine Master had realized what Jian Wushuang planned to do. What else can I do? Jian Wushuang asked and smiled in an odd manner. I have no other choice but to face them because of the blood-soul mark. But these 3. I understand how they are. If I didn't do this, they would insist on going with me. The resentment is between me and Holy Emperor Palace, so I'll take care of it on my own. There's no need to get them in trouble. Looking at them all, bent over the desk, Jian Wushuang was determined. Even if it was a crisis for Wang Yuan, Yang Zishuan, or Su Ro, he would protect them, let alone his own problems. Be my brothers, we should share our joys but bear the sorrows, only by me. Chapter 345 Preparations. Chapter 345, Preparations. Since you have decided, I won't say anything. Wine Master looked at Jian Wushuang with a serious face. Then he took out 2 golden purple light beads, which seemed ordinary but contained an enormous attack power. What are they? Jian Wushuang looked at him in surprise and asked. They are demonic grenades. I got them by chance. Wine Master said, this small bead holds an enormous power with a sophisticated operation method. As long as it recognizes you as its owner, you can detonate it with your mind. I tested one once and the power it released shocked me. If used properly, A demonic grenade can threaten even a pinnacle Saint Realm expert. The remaining 2 are yours. Consider it a gift in honor of our relationship. Thank you so much, Jianghu said gratefully. He took the golden-purple light beads and held them in his hands tightly. After sensing the power of the demonic grenades, cruelty rose in his eyes. When will you set off? Wine Master looked at him and asked. Now, Jianghu said in a low voice. Wine Master nodded and said, make sure you are prepared. Please take care of them, Jianghu said. Don't worry. Experts from alchemy school will look after them, Wine Master said with a smile. Jianghu nodded. He looked at Wang Yuan, Yang Zixuan, and Su Ro once more, then he took a deep breath and departed. After getting the 3 of them situated, Wine Master also left, heading in the direction that Jianghu had gone. In an ancient, vast and majestic mountain range. At the very center of the mountain range, a giant mountain rose at least 1,000 feet high. It was known as the Skyward Mountain. A black-clothed young man, Jianghu, was standing at the top of Skyward Mountain with a long sword on his back. Then he sat down and took out several interspatial rings. He got them from the 7 Saint Realm experts of Holy Emperor Palace. After he killed them and took their interspatial rings, he had not had a chance to carefully inspect them until now. 7 interspatial rings in total. He began checking them one by one. He had to admit that the 7 Saint Realm experts from Holy Emperor Palace, who had all comprehended domain, each had a large number of valuable assets that even included some rare treasures. Elixirs, manuals and magic weapons as well. Among the treasures there was one that even surprised him. He found a big black bow. Though there were no arrows with it, its power was still terrifying. God-killing bow. Seeing it, Jianghu felt surprised and happy. This god-killing bow was a magic weapon, a 2nd-grade magic weapon. Different from other magic weapons, the god-killing bow could gather a large amount of killing power in a matter of seconds. Nice. Jianghu smiled and said, Mo Yun's interspatial ring really had something good. But it still took time to gather power. That's why he didn't use it when he fought with Jianghu. Jianghu was too fast, so he didn't have enough time. Now it belonged to Jianghu. The demonic grenades, god-killing bow, and my other means should give me a slim chance of survival. Jianghu believed he had a chance. The fight was unavoidable as long as the blood-soul mark stayed on him. His clone body was destroyed and the new one hadn't formed yet. Therefore he couldn't secretly replace himself with a clone. There was also no one helping him. He could only rely on himself. On top of the giant mountain, Jianghu was sitting cross-legged. Then he closed his eyes slowly. His breath became steady and his mind calmed down. Half a day quickly passed. Jianghu opened his eyes, which were full of determination. Everything is ready. Both my strength and mind are in a perfect state. I have exhausted all my means and prepared 5 killing moves. Holy Emperor Palace, no matter who you send, with the help of these 5 killing moves, I will be capable of fighting with them head-on. Rumble. A devastating aura rose and surged, causing the whole area to tremble. In the long mountain range, Jianghu wasn't the only one present. There were many experts hiding in the surrounding areas, waiting quietly. News had spread since the battle in Ice Nether Valley a few days ago. And Jianghu was at the eye of the storm because of the blood soul mark. Everyone knew that Holy Emperor Palace wouldn't let him off. They would definitely send one of their holy masters to kill him. So there would definitely be a fierce fight. Therefore many of them were waiting, filled with expectations. They wanted to see whether Jianghu, a rare genius, would once again be able to create a miracle during this life and death crisis. They had been following and watching him since he left Ice Nether Valley. Now, with Jianghu at the top of Skyward Mountain, it was obvious that others would be here too. The surrounding area was abuzz with discussion. It seems he is going to make his stand here. Because of the blood soul mark, there is no choice but to fight them to the death. If they want to make sure he has no chance to survive, Holy Emperor Palace will have to send out a holy master to deal with him. Which one will come? Many experts were standing in the surrounding area, waiting quietly. Then one day later, a slender elder in a black robe slowly appeared from off in the distance. He walked slowly, but with each step he seemed to move 1,000 feet. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived at the center of the mountain range. Floating in front of the Skyward Mountain, he looked down at Jianghu. As soon as the slender elder appeared, the experts in the surrounded turned to face him. They were all dumbfounded. Yes. Second Holy Master. Chapter 346 5 Killing Moves, Part 1. Chapter 346 5 Killing Moves, Part 1. Second Holy Master. He came here? I thought Holy Emperor Palace would send Fourth Holy Master or Third Holy Master to handle this. I didn't expect that Second Holy Master would turn up. Many experts were stunned. Second Holy Master Bo Shi. The wine master's expression changed when he saw the slender black-robed elder. It's over. Wine master sighed while shaking his head. He had fought with Fourth Holy Master and Second Holy Master, so he knew Second Holy Master was very powerful. He thought if Fourth Holy Master came, Jian Wushuang would have an opportunity to fight back against him. If Third Holy Master showed up, Jian Wushuang might have a chance to survive. But now it was Second Holy Master. He will die, Wine Master thought. Second Holy Master is personally fighting him. Jian Wushuang is doomed. The other experts also shared this thought. While still at the peak of Skyward Mountain, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, raised his head, and stared at the slender black-robed elder. The elder peacefully stood above the mountain without emanating an aura. However, Jian Wushuang felt a great pressure. There are 4 Holy Masters in Holy Emperor Palace. I wonder who you are, Jian Wushuang said indifferently. I'm Second Holy Master Bo Shi, the slender black-robed elder replied. Second Holy Master? Jian Wushuang's face changed slightly. Since you know who I am, you should be clear about your ending. Now I will give you an opportunity. You can kill yourself. Second Holy Master stood there with a cold, arrogant look. He was definitely qualified to look down on Jian Wushuang. Kill myself. Jian Wushuang smiled and said, in this world no one can make me kill myself. Are you qualified? Since you're so stubborn, I won't show any mercy, Second Holy Master said coldly. Then he took a step forwards. In that instant, his stride spanned hundreds of feet while radiating invisible waves. Jian Wushuang felt a great power begin to suppress him from all directions. He was a bit surprised. Fight! Jian Wushuang suddenly snarled. As his thunderous voice reverberated, a roaring battle intent suddenly spread out. A terrifying power which could devour everything burst forth. Soul-devouring secret skill. Normally Jian Wushuang would wait, only displaying this skill when he had no choice. But this time, Jian Wushuang performed it without any hesitation. The terrifying power devoured everything in the surroundings. A large amount of natural power flowed into his body which made his aura soar. Very interesting tactic. Second Holy Master quietly stood there and did not try to block it. The battle intent in Jian Wushuang's eyes was powerful. Azura's secret skill, Road to the Underworld. A vast blood river directly flowed out. Instantly, it spread over a radius of more than 1,000 meters and covered the whole area. Second Holy Master was stuck in it. Then Jian Wushuang activated Slaughter Domain and Sword Sea. The 3 skills combined and released their strength. Immediately, the blood river tumbled and turbulent water rushed toward Second Holy Master. Second Holy Master was in the center of the blood river, like a boat, swaying in the endless sea. The triple kill sword appeared in Jian Wushuang's hands. The power of the magic weapon erupted. A phantom giant suddenly appeared behind Jian Wushuang. The phantom giant was larger than before. As Jian Wushuang wielded the triple kill sword, the towering phantom giant slowly swung the longsword. Blood emptying technique, the first move. Shwa. The moment the huge blood-red sword light directly lashed out, the heaven and earth seemed to be split in two. Jian Wushuang had finished his first killing move. Road to the Underworld, Slaughter Domain, Sword Sea, the first move of blood-emptying technique, and the outburst of the triple kill sword. The power of Blood River is great. You must have depended on this Blood River to kill our 7 Saint Realm experts? Second Holy Master said indifferently. He watched the huge stroke slash toward him, then casually waved his hand. Then a forlorn, shrill howl rang out. The huge blood-red sword light seemed to be hampered as it suddenly stopped and then shattered completely. Second Holy Master casually broke the first killing move. Jian Wushuang remained composed. The moment the sword light was smashed, a stream of great blood-red power began to gather in his palm. Soon, it reached its limit and exuded a soaring blood-red light. The second move of Azura's secret skill, Bridge of Helplessness. As Jian Wushuang let out a cry, the surrounding air seemed to suddenly tremble. On the edge of the Blood River, a towering long blood-red bridge suddenly appeared and extended to the end of the river at an amazing speed. Jian Wushuang stood on the bridge and walked forward. A large amount of blood-red energy gathered around his body, as if he wore a blood-red armor. His momentum improved to a new level. When it reached its peak, the phantom giant waved its muscular arms and struck a blow. This stroke was much more powerful than the previous one. After Bridge of Helplessness made his momentum reach the peak, Jian Wushuang displayed the second move of the blood-emptying technique, which was his second killing move. Ridiculous, Second Holy Master sneered. A terrifying power instantly gathered in his palm. Then he clenched his fist and threw a punch. The punch was like a huge meteor as it violently collided with the sword shadow. Then the powerful sword shadow was smashed again. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was surrounded by a force of gale and thunderbolt. His body changed into lightning, easily flashing through the air to appear at Second Holy Master's side. Then he threw 2 golden-purple light beads at the elder. The 2 golden-purple light beads landed, less than 2 meters away from Second Holy Master. Demonic Grenade. Second Holy Master's expression eventually changed. Explosion. Jian Wushuang shouted. The 2 demonic grenades directly exploded. Chapter 347 5 Killing Moves, Part 2. Chapter 347, 5 Killing Moves, Part 2. Boom. Boom. Following the 2 loud booms, 2 violent windstorms formed in the sky. The demonic grenade was given to him by Wine Master. He said that if used properly, a demonic grenade could even endanger a top expert who has reached the pinnacle. Jian Wushuang found an opportunity to throw 2 demonic grenades at Second Holy Master, which was his third killing move. Second Holy Master was overwhelmed by the terrifying power of the 2 demonic grenades. He was stuck in the 2 windstorms for a long time before he finally smashed the windstorms with his great power and reappeared before everyone's eyes. At this moment, Second Holy Master looked embarrassed. His black robe had become ragged because of the explosion. However, he was not injured and his aura had not weakened. Boy, that was a nice skill. Anything else? Second Holy Master stood in the air and coldly looked toward Jian Wushuang. However, in the next moment he was shocked. He saw Jian Wushuang drawing a huge bow. A stream of terrifying strength gathered on the bow, merging to form a golden arrow. He was the target. God-killing bow. Second Holy Master was startled. When the power of the golden arrow reached the limit, Jian Wushuang relaxed his finger. Swish. The golden arrow shot forward, changing into a flash of golden light. Instantly, it pierced the space between them with its golden tail like a comet. He obtained the God-killing bow from Mo Yun's interspatial ring. As a second-grade magic weapon, it was really different from an ordinary weapon. Once it was used, the terrifying power of the golden arrow would rush forward. With the help of Road to the Underworld and Bridge of Helplessness, Jian Wushuang unleashed the God-killing bow and shot the golden arrow. The power was enough to threaten an expert at the pinnacle. The speed of the arrow was so fast that Second Holy Master was not able to dodge it. He could only try his best to block it. This was Jian Wushuang's 4th killing move. It was set up in conjunction with the 3rd killing move because the time needed to prepare the God-killing bow was provided by the explosion of the 2 demonic grenades. Right as Second Holy Master disentangled him from the explosion, the God-killing bow had just finished the preparations to attack, without leaving Second Holy Master a chance to breathe. The killing moves arrived in quick succession. The golden arrow instantly appeared in front of Second Holy Master, moving directly toward his neck. Second Holy Master snorted while immediately slapping it with his hand. Chi. The golden arrow was powerful. Its terrifying power allowed it to pierce through Second Holy Master's palm and continue flying toward his throat. Second Holy Master widened his eyes. Then streams of great spiritual power gushed out and formed a shield around his body. The golden arrow collided with the shield of spiritual power. The very moment it managed to pierce the shield, the power of the arrow disappeared. How dangerous! Second Holy Master was frightened. The golden arrow was only 5 millimeters away from striking his neck after breaking through the shield. Boy, it seems that I underestimated you. Second Holy Master coldly looked toward Jian Wushuang, with a surge of killing intent flashing in his eyes. It had been a long time since he had such a fright. Now it was caused by a young expert in the Yang Void realm. Not only is he still alive, he was not even injured by my 4 killing moves. Now everything depends on this last move. Jian Wushuang's eyes became slightly red as killing intent began gushing out. Then he took out a faint yellow elixir and ate it. Yin Yang Dark Dragon Elixir. It could greatly increase his strength for a short period of time. In an instant, he felt the blood racing through his veins and his potential was completely activated. His strength became at least double. Then Jian Wushuang suddenly patted his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood, then quickly waved his hand to catch it. This action was repeated several times, leaving a dozen palm prints on his chest. Azura secret skill, the third move, 18 levels of hell. Jian Wushuang let out a snarl. His face was distorted and his veins stood out on his forehead as if his veins would burst. Previously, Jian Wushuang was not able to perform 18 levels of hell, because he did not have enough spiritual power and strength. However, now, after performing the soul-devouring secret skill, eating the Yin Yang Dark Dragon Elixir, and even drawing his own blood, he could barely display this move. The blood river madly tumbled and roared. It originally covered 1,000 meters, but now it extended thousands of meters at an amazing speed until it resembled the road to the underworld. The bridge of helplessness that spanned the blood river constantly stretched while becoming more enormous and towering. In the middle of the blood river, a piece of blood cloud swirled, forming a huge vortex. Then a huge blood-red pavilion slowly descended. It had 18 floors with ghost shadows visible on each floor, and their screams and roars could be heard. Buzz. The moment the pavilion landed on the blood river, invisible waves spread out. Time seemed to stop for a moment. Second Holy Master stood in the blood river, with a hint of shock in his eyes, watching the ghosts crazily rushing toward him as he fell into a panic. He desperately bit his lips and barely managed to keep a clear mind. At this moment, another elixir appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. It was the Spirit Recovering Elixir. Chapter 348 5 Killing Moves, Part 3. Chapter 348 5 Killing Moves, Part 3. Performing the 4 killing moves, especially the 18 levels of hell, almost consumed all his spiritual power. The Spirit Recovering Elixir would help him recover some. It began working as soon as he ate it. The size of the giant behind him increased greatly, becoming hundreds of feet tall, and the power of its sword also soared. The moment Jian Wushuang raised the triple kill sword above his head, the towering phantom giant held up the long sword as well. Blood Emptying Technique, the third move. Jian Wushuang shouted, with a hint of madness flashing in his eyes. Instantly, a huge blood-red sword light swept out. It was powerful. The moment the stroke lashed out, the whole area became dead still. The Yin Yang Dark Dragon Elixir, 18 levels of hell, and the third move of the blood emptying technique made up his strongest move. This was his 5th killing move. The blood river was tumbling and roaring. Second Holy Master, who was stuck inside it, felt as if his consciousness was being devoured by the influence of 18 levels of hell. 18 levels of hell was completely different from Road to the Underworld and Bridge of Helplessness. It was a special skill that suppressed consciousness. Even Second Holy Master could barely keep conscious at this moment. When the blood-red sword light dashed toward him, Second Holy Master could not perform some of his best moves to parry it. He could only wave his hand to throw out a punch. In the blink of an eye, bang! A loud boom was heard, causing invisible waves to spread out. Then lots of plants in the mountains were crushed into dust. Surprised, Second Holy Master spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a shooting star, he fell down at an amazing speed. Boom! Second Holy Master crashed into a giant mountain, thousands of feet away from their battlefield, causing the mountain to break. The elder passed through the mountain and continued to retreat. Boom! Boom! Second Holy Master went through 2 giant mountains in succession, leaving a hole in each mountain. Upon colliding with the third one, he barely managed to come to a stop, but found himself embedded in the mountain. The whole area became quiet. In the sky, the roaring blood river gradually dissipated, as did Bridge of Helplessness and the blood-red pavilion. Jian Wushuang stood above the area with a pale complexion, clutching his chest and staring in the Second Holy Master's direction. A large number of onlookers, including many experts of the Saint Realm, could not help sucking in a breath of cold air. Then they all looked at Jian Wushuang in unprecedented terror. They originally thought that since Second Holy Master dealt with him personally, he would be able to kill him without a doubt. But what they saw was contrary to their expectations. Jian Wushuang had taken the initiative in this fight. 5 killing moves. He launched 5 killing moves in succession. Each move stronger than the previous one. He did not even give his opponent an opportunity to breathe. Especially the last killing move. It was so powerful that many top experts were terrified from the bottom of their heart. Even the wine master was shocked when he watched Jian Wushuang perform that last move. He knew that if he had been targeted by that last attack he would. All the onlookers were petrified. Now they were worried about Second Holy Master instead. Is Second Holy Master dead? All the onlookers looked toward where Second Holy Master had landed with shock and curiosity. Broken stones fell as a cloud of smoke and dust covered the hole, so they could not see the scene inside, making it unclear whether Second Holy Master was dead or not. Suddenly, lots of broken stones fell from the hole. Then a black-robed person walked out and reappeared above the area. The wine master's face fell. He shook his head, sighed and said, "Second Holy Master is Second Holy Master." The wine master thought that if Fourth Holy Master or Third Holy Master had been attacked with the 5 killing moves, they would have died. Second Holy Master was more powerful indeed. Alive. Second Holy Master is still alive. I knew he would not die with just this. Lots of experts sighed as they saw Second Holy Master's appearance. Second Holy Master's aura had weakened. He looked pale, with blood around the corner of his mouth. His clothes were torn and one of his sleeves missing. He looked bad and seriously injured. But he was alive indeed. "You didn't die?" Jian Wushuang said while suspending in the air above. His face fell and he stared at his opponent with hostility. He had used his full strength to perform those 5 killing moves. But Second Holy Master was still alive. Jian Wushuang had reached his limit and used up all his spiritual power. He could no longer fight. Now he knew that he was standing before the gate of hell. Second Holy Master darkened his face. He wiped off the blood from around his mouth and coldly looked toward Jian Wushuang. "Boy, you do possess some strength. Even I was almost killed by you. If given more time you would be stronger than me. But it's pity you won't have such an opportunity." Then a greenish-black giant hammer appeared in his hand. Chapter 349, An Unexpected Surprise. Chapter 349, An Unexpected Surprise. You should be proud to be killed by my magic weapon. Along with his soaring killing intent, Second Holy Master held a giant hammer, which was filled with a violent aura. His cold voice resounded through the whole area. Many onlookers just now realized that Second Holy Master had been fighting without a weapon. "Boy, let me help you on your way." Second Holy Master took a stride and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and launched an attack with his giant hammer. Invisible waves spread out as if to suppress the whole area. Jian Wushuang looked pale and felt he was facing a deadly crisis. His eyes became crazy. Then he suddenly raised his head and let out a hysterical cry. "Fight!" Though he knew that his spiritual power was used up and death was waiting for him, he still lifted his hand. The triple kill sword madly trembled and roared. The towering phantom giant behind him greatly increased in size, brandishing a long sword. Jian Wushuang swung the triple kill sword forward. He used up his last bit of strength and struck a blow. "Go to hell." The greenish-black giant hammer directly collided with the triple kill sword. Clang. A metallic sound came out and invisible waves spread toward Jian Wushuang. Bang. Jian Wushuang's right hand suddenly tore, causing a mess of blood and flesh. His bones barely could be seen while his triple kill sword was cast away. The invisible waves continued to sweep over him. Jian Wushuang only felt a stream of unimaginable power lash against him. Blood was spat out and his eyes and nose began bleeding. He felt as if all of his bones had been smashed. Bang. Jian Wushuang fell down to the mountain below. A huge pit appeared on the ground with Jian Wushuang at the bottom of it. Many spectators looked toward the pit. After quite a while it was still quiet in the pit. Some onlookers sighed and proclaimed, "It's over." An expert of the Yang Void realm actually managed to fight Second Holy Master to such an extent. It was amazing. It was amazing indeed. Our Nanyang continent has had many geniuses in the past, but Jian Wushuang was peerless. What a pity. If given more time, he would have become a legend. Now it's all over. That's the end. It's over. Many of the experts felt pity for this marvelous genius. Geniuses always needed time to grow. If they died before they matured, they could not become a legend. In the pit, Jian Wushuang was still able to open his eyes. Even though blood was flowing from his mouth, his bones were almost broken, and his aura was disappearing, he still had a hint of consciousness. Am I going to die? Jian Wushuang murmured. His voice sounded quite feeble. Holy Emperor Palace, I refuse to die. I haven't delivered on the promise with my father. I haven't reached the pinnacle as a warrior. My parents, brothers, and relatives. There are too many things I haven't done. I won't accept it. He slowly closed his eyes, then suddenly reopened them. A hint of shock flashed in his eyes. That is, Jian Wushuang regained his consciousness. He saw a bizarre gray light in his belly. The gray light grew brighter and brighter, gradually gathering something. It was a gray stone bead which was emitting a faint light. The gray stone bead. Jian Wushuang was greatly taken aback. It had been in his body for 16 years. Heavenly creation skill and soul-devouring secret skill both came from it. The gray stone bead could be considered the key point in changing his fate. Without the gray stone bead and heavenly creation skill, he might have achieved a lot, but he could not improve his strength to such an extent in a short period of time. The gray stone bead was mysterious and inconceivable. Jian Wushuang did not know when the gray stone bead appeared in his body. After the gray stone bead absorbed the spiritual power to its limit, Jian Wushuang originally thought it had completely disappeared. He had never perceived its existence during these few years. However, now when he was dying, the mysterious gray stone bead emerged once again. It began to spin, producing a thick gray fog. It was ground until it was the size of an infant's thumb before the bead finally stopped. The thick gray fog madly gathered and condensed into a gray waterdrop. The moment the gray waterdrop finished forming, it immediately merged with his body. Jian Wushuang felt a stream of great and refreshing power flow through his body. In an instant, his injured bones, muscles, and organs started to recover at an amazing speed. It was too fast. In his sea of consciousness, a tough sword soul was quietly suspended there. The sword soul was so strong. Though Jian Wushuang was just at death's door, it still remained intact. Under the influence of the gray waterdrop, the sword soul began to shake violently. Sword essence rolled while his sword soul greatly expanded. Then the sword soul split. Once his sea of consciousness calmed down, the sword soul had been divided into two. Double sword souls. Chapter 350, The Gray Waterdrop Transforms. Chapter 350, The Gray Waterdrop Transforms. It was silent. All the spectators felt pity for Jian Wushuang. Second Holy Master was suspended in the air, coldly staring at the huge pit. It had been quite a while since Jian Wushuang had fallen, so everyone thought he must have died. Finally, I killed him? Second Holy Master murmured. He looked at himself and thought. If the other three masters see my current appearance, they would think I had a tough fight with the boy and laugh at me. He shook his head and looked toward where the triple kill sword landed. I heard his sword is a first-grade magic weapon. Second Holy Master's eye lit up. Then he went to claim the sword. But right at this moment, a surge of invisible energy suddenly appeared. Second Holy Master stopped and looked at the pit again. Many spectators above the nearby space also looked toward it. Boom. The whole area seemed to shake for an instant, then the ground started to violently vibrate as if it was roaring. In the huge pit, lots of stones began floating up. Then a figure slowly flew out. Jian Wushuang. Everybody stared at him in shock. His clothes were dyed red by blood. His arms were a mess of blood and flesh, with even his bones being slightly visible. His eyes were closed and his black hair fluttered. A stream of aura spread out and began growing stronger and stronger. As he moved to stand above the area, rumble. It sounded like the whole world cracked. A great amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy madly surged toward Jian Wushuang from all directions. The spiritual power whistled through the area, surrounding Jian Wushuang in an instant and creating a great spiritual storm that radiated out 100 meters. Jesus! That's heaven and earth spiritual energy. Lots of experts could not help but widen his eyes. The spiritual storm was quite grand. Jian Wushuang immersed himself in it. A large amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy was devoured by him. Owing to it, his aura became stronger and stronger. Previously, his aura had withered to a point where it might completely disappear, but now it had reached a new level much stronger than before. The aura kept soaring. Swish! The triple kill sword trembled and then flew toward its owner, returning to Jian Wushuang's grasp again. His eyes were still closed, but at this moment, the two sword souls were radiating a brilliant light within his sea of consciousness. Rumble. Two spectral images suddenly appeared behind his back. The two spectral images looked the same as Jian Wushuang but much bigger than him. Now they kept the same posture as their owner, with the long sword in their hands and their eyes closed. Sword Soul Phantoms. Two sword souls created two sword soul phantoms. Their sword essence was powerful. The boy is still alive. Second Holy Master's face fell. Then a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Whoosh! With one stride, Second Holy Master appeared before his opponent. A surge of power gathered in his hand and he swung his giant hammer, which emitted an enormous energy. The moment it smashed forward, an explosive power swept out. Go to hell. Second Holy Master's face was distorted. He did not know what his opponent was doing. However, he was frightened, so he would not give the boy any opportunities. This attack was stronger than the previous one. Jian Wushuang still had his eyes closed and did not seem to notice, but his two sword soul phantoms opened their eyes, shooting out two streaks of light. Like a sword strike, the light swept out, causing two huge sword scars to appear in the sky and cracks to form in the ground. At this moment, the triple kill sword directly lashed out. A casual stroke. It contained no sword skills or tricks. This simple stroke collided with the giant hammer. Peng. With a loud boom, Second Holy Master was blasted backwards, as if he had been hit by a bomb. Boom, boom. His body flew across the sky, humming violently. After regaining his balance, Second Holy Master gasped while in shock. All the spectators were petrified. He had repelled Second Holy Master with a casual strike. Jian Wushuang still kept the same posture as if he had not launched an attack. The great spiritual storm remained there and he was crazily devouring the heaven and earth spiritual energy as if he would never be full. As his aura soared, his face became ruddy. He had almost recovered and his bloody arms seemed intact. His bones, muscles, and even the tiny parts of his body were changing under the influence of the gray Waterdrop. Improve. Transform. With every breath, his body was being strengthened as much as dozens of times. His aura became increasingly stronger. What on earth happened? He was dying, but now. He made a breakthrough at the last moment. Breakthrough? All of them thought of this possibility. After all, Jian Wushuang was at the peak of the Yang Void realm. He was a peerless genius, so he might be able to make a breakthrough. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.